In the early 1900s, the world was gripped by a spirit of progress and invention. Cities buzzed with new technologies, and the promise of a brighter future seemed within reach for many. The Industrial Revolution had transformed daily life, and people looked to the horizon with hope and ambition. In Belfast, Ireland, the RMS Titanic was born, a ship promising unmatched luxury and, above all, safety. It was envisioned as the pinnacle of human achievement, a vessel that would redefine ocean travel for generations to come. Thousands of workers shaped its steel hull, creating the largest moving object ever built. Day and night, laborers toiled in the massive shipyard, their sweat and skill forging a marvel of engineering. Titanic's design boasted a double-bottomed hull, a feature meant to provide extra protection against the perils of the sea. And with 16 watertight compartments, the ship was engineered to withstand disaster, fueling the belief it was unsinkable. These innovations were hailed as the height of maritime safety. The press and public embraced this confidence, seeing Titanic as a triumph of technology over nature. Newspapers declared it a floating fortress, and excitement swept across continents. On May 31, 1911, crowds watched in awe as the colossal ship launched, a symbol of human ambition. The event drew thousands, all eager to witness history in the making. Over the next 10 months, artisans transformed the vessel into a floating palace with opulent interiors and powerful engines. Every corner was designed to dazzle, from the grand dining rooms to the luxurious cabins. Every detail, from the grand staircase, an icon of elegance and sophistication, to the intricate woodwork, was crafted to impress and inspire awe in all who stepped aboard. Titanic was more than a ship. It was a statement of the era's faith in progress, a floating testament to what humanity could achieve when united by vision and determination. This aura of invincibility would follow Titanic as it prepared for its first and only voyage, carrying with it the hopes and dreams of an entire generation. April 10, 1912. Southampton buzzed with excitement as Titanic prepared for its maiden voyage to New York. The ship towered over the dock, drawing passengers from every walk of life. First class hosted the world's elite, millionaires, celebrities and dignitaries, enjoying unmatched luxury. Second class offered comfort and refinement to professionals and families. In third class, hundreds of immigrants clung to dreams of a new life in America. Titanic was a floating city with nearly 900 crew members led by the experienced Captain Edward J. Smith. The crew worked tirelessly, from the engine rooms to the crow's nest, ensuring every detail was perfect. As the ship steamed into the English Channel, hope and ambition filled the air. For many, this was more than a journey. It was the promise of a brighter future. The Titanic set out, carrying the aspirations of an era across the Atlantic. The Titanic's first days at sea were calm and luxurious, with passengers enjoying every amenity. But as the ship entered the North Atlantic, danger lurked. Ice warnings crackled over the wireless. Other ships reported ice fields and massive icebergs drifting south. Titanic's wireless operators, busy with passenger telegrams, sometimes delayed or missed relaying these warnings. A crucial message about ice directly in Titanic's path never reached the bridge. On April 14th, the sea was eerily calm, making icebergs harder to spot. Despite multiple warnings, Titanic pressed on at high speed through the darkness. The stage was set for disaster. The night of April 14th was pitch black, the ocean still and silent. Not a single wave broke the surface, and the only sound was the distant hum of the Titanic's engines. The vast North Atlantic stretched endlessly, shrouded in an eerie calm that seemed to hold its breath. In the crow's nest, lookouts Frederick Fleet and Reginald Lee strained their eyes, peering into the darkness, without binoculars, which had been mistakenly left behind in Southampton. The cold wind bit at their faces as they searched for any sign of danger ahead, knowing the ship was traveling at high speed. Suddenly, Fleet spotted a looming shape, an iceberg dead ahead, its ghostly form barely visible against the Black Sea. The moment was tense and every second counted. He rang the alarm bell 3 times and called the bridge. "Iceberg right ahead!" His urgent warning echoed through the night, shattering the silence. First Officer Murdoch reacted instantly, ordering a hard turn to port and reversing the engines. But the Titanic, nearly 900 feet long and weighing over 46,000 tons, was too massive to respond quickly enough. The ship's bow began to clear the iceberg, but beneath the surface, the jagged ice scraped along the starboard side, tearing into the hull with a grinding roar that few on board could hear. Passengers felt only a faint shudder, a subtle vibration that rippled through the decks, but below the waterline the damage was catastrophic and irreversible. The iceberg tore open the hull, breaching multiple watertight compartments. Seawater began to pour in at an alarming rate, flooding the lower sections of the ship. The unsinkable ship had been fatally wounded in the darkness. The realization of disaster was only just beginning to dawn on those aboard. Within minutes, icy water surged into the lower decks, racing through corridors and filling compartments with relentless force. The Titanic's fate was sealed in a matter of seconds. The world's largest and most luxurious ship was now in mortal peril, her destiny forever changed. The race for survival had begun, as passengers and crew faced the unimaginable horror of a sinking ship in the freezing Atlantic night. Deep inside the ship, the true scale of the disaster became clear. The collision had popped rivets and opened a series of gashes along nearly 300 feet of hull. Water flooded 5 compartments, one more than Titanic could survive. Ship designer Thomas Andrews quickly assessed the damage and delivered the grim news. Titanic would sink within hours. The ship's confidence vanished, replaced by dread and urgency. As the bow dipped lower, water crept up deck by deck, extinguishing lights and hope. The once proud liner now sat wounded and motionless, tilting ever more steeply. Passengers and crew faced the unthinkable. The unsinkable ship was doomed. Panic and disbelief spread as the reality set in. The struggle for survival intensified as the icy Atlantic claimed the ship. With disaster now certain, the fateful order was given. Women and children first to the lifeboats. The atmosphere on deck shifted from disbelief to dread as families were torn apart, and loved ones clung to each other, uncertain if they would ever meet again. But Titanic carried lifeboats for barely half of those on board. Over 1,000 men, women and children would be left behind with no hope of rescue. The realization spread quickly, fueling desperation and fear. Confusion and disbelief slowed the evacuation. Many lifeboats were launched half-empty, as some passengers refused to believe the ship could actually sink, while others hesitated, not wanting to leave loved ones behind. As the ship tilted and the angle grew steeper, panic erupted. Some rushed the boats in a desperate bid for survival, while officers fired warning shots into the air to maintain order and prevent chaos from overtaking the decks. Amid the chaos, acts of courage shone through the darkness. The ship's musicians played on, their music drifting over the icy water, trying to calm terrified passengers and bring a sense of peace, even as they refused to abandon their posts. The bow disappeared beneath the waves, the stern rising high into the night sky before breaking away with a thunderous roar, sending a final shudder through the doomed vessel. At 2:20 a.m., Titanic slipped beneath the surface, swallowed by the freezing Atlantic, taking over 1,500 souls with her into the depths. Survivors in lifeboats watched in horror and disbelief as the great ship vanished, her lights flickering out, leaving only darkness and the memory of what had been. The North Atlantic was silent once more, save for the desperate cries of those left in the freezing water, calling for help that would never come. In less than 3 hours, the greatest maritime disaster of its age had unfolded, leaving a world in shock and forever changing the course of history. Over 1,500 people perished in the icy Atlantic, most succumbing within minutes to the freezing water. Only one lifeboat returned to search for survivors. By then, it was too late. The rescue ship Carpathia arrived, finding just over 700 survivors adrift among the wreckage. News of the disaster shocked the world. How could the unsinkable Titanic be lost? Inquiries in Britain and the US probed every detail, from ignored ice warnings to the lack of lifeboats. The tragedy spurred sweeping changes. New laws required lifeboats for all, regular drills, and the creation of the International Ice Patrol. Titanic's sinking exposed the dangers of overconfidence and the limits of technology. The disaster became a turning point in maritime safety. The story of Titanic endures, a cautionary tale of ambition, hubris, and the unforgiving power of nature. Its legacy, a world forever changed by one fateful night at sea.